because I know what is a successful. I run everything in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And to me, my definition of startup is 80 hours a week. If you're telling me you're doing a startup and you're not pouring it heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears, you are not in it to win.
So how did it feel like being in that zone, being on fire again?
I love it. I'm in my zone. I'm like fish in the water.
Where do you get that energy from?
Okay, so if you have never felt hunger and see your mom skipping meals at the end of the month, you don't know what is a hard day.
Yeah.
If you haven't lost your best friend shot by a gang leader in school, you haven't seen what is a bad day. If you haven't seen people killing each other and teenagers because there's not enough food in the neighborhood where you live, you don't know what it is to not have economic opportunity. I know how to fix that. I know how to create jobs. I know how to give opportunity. That's it.
I love that.
This is The Exit with Adrian Salomonovich, brought to you by the Exit Group and Morgan Stanley.
You're not scared of AI.
No, I love it.
You think it's like a fractal or like a natural element that's going to propel humanity?
It was needed because we're achieving an incredible amount of... So I don't know how to describe it in one word, but there's a moment where humans are limited. Our brains are exceeding our physical constraints. So I'll give you an example of that. If you were in the Middle Ages and you were a king who had to tell his soldiers defend that border, to send that message to someone that's trusted, you have to have a piece of paper with a seal, send it on someone on a horse or a pigeon later on, and they had to cross France for 7 days.
Sure.
It took 5 to 7 days to arrive there. So the speed of doing trade and commerce was also limited by that physical distance problem.
Yeah.
And then you look for 400 years until the trains, it was always limited. It took days by horse to go somewhere.
It wasn't that, there wasn't that much progress.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden trains arrive and it takes dozens of hours to do that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's an explosion of commerce and there's a growth of GDP. Then from trains until the beginning of the 20th century were the dominant factor, boats and trains. And then at the beginning of the 20th century, they started playing with planes. But until 1945, 1950, there was no jet engines flying everywhere. You couldn't do, New York, Miami in 2 or 3 hours. It still took days or dozens of hours. All of a sudden, you see an explosion of GDP when commerce and human movement is shortened to hours. And until 2020, it was hours. The speed of trust and the speed of goods being moved were limited to hours.
Not talking about digital goods, you're talking about physical goods. We're talking about Amazon, we're talking about just supply chain logistics.
And just doing business. I used to fundraise. I used to have to travel around the Bay Area, shake hands. People would not do term sheets without meeting in person.
Oh, they changed all that.
Exactly. And now we're godlike. You go on that Zoom call, in a split second, the trust between humans is accepted.
Yeah.
So if I would have told you in the Middle Age, I would teletransform my voice and speak from sorcery, witchcraft. Now we're living in witchcraft world every day.
That's interesting way to look at it. We are.
Yeah, right. So you can like right now, boom, boom, you transport your trust, your brain into another device. But we're still, so technology, like the ego, made us be instant trust to do deals now, to do sales and everything, more and more and more and accelerating, right? And now, okay, what's the next thing? Well, we're limited. If we're not limited in distance, we're limited in time. Like we're limited we only have so many hours in the day.
Yes.
We only work so many hours. I might work a few hours more per day than others. We all have our physical constraints. Well, what does AI gives us there? Well, let's think about this. Now with Loom, people can record calls and I don't have to sit 1 hour somewhere. I can see the transcript at 9 p.m., 8 hours asynchronously, and I play a lot of my Loom videos 1.6 because I have English speakers that speak better than me.
Yeah.
And then I can boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, time disappears. I'm a magician. Now, the next thing is avatars. So I was just talking with Aidin from Fellow. I said, dude, you have all the recordings of me. I want a grayed out version of Solon that someone can pull in any meeting and answer 97% of the questions and participate like me, which AI can do now.
Yeah, we're there.
We are passing the Turing test every day.
So then when do we become obsolete?
We're not. We're becoming godlike.
So you look at the AI, to be clear, as a magnifier, as almost becoming like a bionic man or woman.
Yes.
And magnifying, I tend to agree with you. I do tend to agree with you. I don't think it's the end of humanity. I do like your position. I do like your positivity into AI, which transitions into let's talk about what you've created, right? Let's talk about, You were at Solon, you worked with Terry Matthews. Maybe we'll start there. I don't want to spoil the story, but let's go into that real quick. And then let's talk about your next venture and the exit. Because this show is about exiting, but I think all this background is really important to understand how your brain works.
Well, I think we need to go even before at Caseware out of Toronto, which is a bootstrap business to over $100 million revenue. And I arrived there to turn around the division. I was promoted several times, and then I started launching products inside. And I learned everything about auditing and analytics there. And I operated in a scenario of high trust with my mentor and my friend, and which was my boss and became my colleague. And I really felt, it's funny, it's silly talking about it, but I thought I'd be there for a lifetime.
Really?
You know, when you have a team that you trust.
And you came in from Europe at that stage, right?
No, from California.
From California. So you moved
in California,
Canada to join that company.
No, I was doing a startup in California. I did not go the way I wanted.
Yes.
I was young. I worked like 90 hours a week, and then it's still there. It's doing good, but I walked away with like $300 in my pocket.
Sure.
I arrived in Canada, heartbroken and disappointed because of a woman that was living in Ottawa. And essentially, and she became, the mother of my two lovely kids. But so I came there, and Caseware was one of my clients. And it was I thought it would be a 6-month contract.
Yeah.
Come here, help them deploy the system, move on. But then at the end, I started opening my mouth, which I do sometimes. And I say, you're doing this wrong, this guy's an idiot, this guy's lazy. And the boss called me up and say, well, great, here, why don't you fix it?
So your opinionatedness, your ability to give value, because you were trying to give value, right?
Yeah,
and you were
just
being
sad. I felt sad for them. I was sorry.
Real friends tell friends that they have spinach in their teeth, and you did. Most people don't. So you did that, and that was seen as value. They're like, come join us, right? I was shocked. And you were doing surprise sales, right?
No, not even when I came. I was doing process mapping for customer success. I set up the professional services team, and I was supposed to move on. And they said, well, come and help us do more of that. And then I started, while I was in customer success and setting up ISO and all process mapping, customer success and this, I started talking to the customer, and I'm like, why are you guys selling this $2,000 pop when you're selling to the number 2 of the CFO of Bank of America? That makes no sense. The value is much greater if you repackage it to put it there. And they're like, it's never going to work. They never want it. And we end up doing a sale without a product. So I just sold. I just said, I know this will work. Just let them try it. So I said, guys, this money back. If it doesn't work, you can fire me and you give their money back.
That's a real, man. You come in and create value. You know how to sell, straight line, and get that.
I don't quite say it. I was just solving problems.
Yeah.
Just like, and so what I realized there and I learned is that when you're entrepreneurial and you like to solve things, there's only so many things you can solve until you stop on someone's toe in the business, right? So then I had to leave. I didn't want to leave. I was so stressed. I had my first kid, and then I had a mortgage, and I was like, oh my God, should I leave? I went back, and they were so patient with me. Bob, thank you very much for the patience and grateful. He was very gracious on the way out. And essentially, I quit, and then I went back home and I was stressed. The next morning, I said, can I have my job back? And then I quit.
We regretted it, but then you quit again.
And then I quit again, and then I was so stressed. So I'll make it easier for you. Here's a few tens of thousands of dollars. Goodbye. You need to get your own toy. And very grateful for that. And then everyone said, we're surprised you lasted that long. I'm like, what do you mean you're surprised I lasted that long? I thought we were all friends. We like each other. We like you so, but you can do better than that.
You're very entrepreneurial. So you moved to Ottawa. You joined.
Yeah, that time I was in Ottawa, and then I basically first because I felt I was old at 20 years old.
Isn't that crazy? And so anybody listening to this,
for kids,
29 years old, and you are a kid.
Yeah, I thought I was too old to do startups because startups for me, because I know what is a successful. I run everything in the Bay Area, and to me, my definition of a startup is 80 hours a week. If you're telling me you're doing a startup and you're not pouring in heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears, you are not in it to win.
It's a hustle mentality, right, that we all grew up with.
And it's not even hustle. Is that focus, obsession, dedication is the basics, and you still might fail. So to me, at 29, was like a newborn and thing. I was like, oh, maybe I can't do it. And it was a very insightful moment. And then I knew, by the way, that the chances I ended up divorced, given that the person I was with was not, will not work out. Well, hi, but I was like, I have to do it because otherwise I cannot look at my children and say, I am a true person, true to myself.
Yeah, it's so important.
So then I ran into a friend called John O'Reilly, who by that time I started the Ottawa Product Management Association. Then I was working at starting Product Hunt. I got involved at Freshwater's.
I remember that.
And then I was just networking and trying to hire people. The truth is I was just trying to hire people to replace my job. And then I started showing him how to do Silicon Valley style product management. They didn't know what they were doing on backlog grooming. And then he ended up introducing me to Terry Matthews and to Magmata. And those guys convinced me to join, to do a turnaround, to fix up Solink, which was struggling a bit. And then there was no sales for 3 quarters. People were demotivated. Mike was frustrated. He was working hard, but he was not supported properly. The tech was not where it needs to be. The partners were screaming at them.
It was a mess.
It was a mess. And I said, I sit everyone down. People wanted to quit after another. I said, look, Mike was just, by the way, he's a CEO now. Like I said, he was so frustrated because he saw the money, but he had never done a startup before. And there was a moral and alignment problem. So then we solved that. And he comes to me and I said, guys, I sit on everyone. I said, Terry Matthews is a billionaire. He has a lot of real estate. And he's telling us, do what he needs to do to succeed. So nobody talks about failure here, please. Let's talk about how successful do we want to be. And when you put that statement on the table, you see who's truly there to collect a paycheck or who's trying to do something. And there was 2 pricks, there was 2 people in there that were not there to help create something. And that's not fair when you have guys of 24 years old, 27 that put 2 years of their life. That's not fair. That's not right. So I had to sit down heart to heart with folks. At the time, Mike's leadership style was not what Mike is probably used today. And he's not perfect. No one's perfect. And they were blaming him all the time. He was the only guy trying to do sales. And they were constantly blaming him for trying to make something happen. So I said, guys, just as simple. He's trying. What are you doing here? Oh, I need to go. There was a guy who showed up in the office. He's like, I haven't had my donut yet. Like, get the fuck out.
Right.
So
not everybody was running at the same pace, and there was an alignment in culture. And so, what did you do? Did you stick around and see what would happen, or what was the move?
The move for me was, let me first help. I always like to be helpful first. And I'm not worrying too much about what's in it for me because I know that I know how to put bread and dough on the table. And when there's tons of bread on the table, there's more bread than mouth to feed, some will come to my mouth. So that's my philosophy in life.
Yeah.
Basically, there were several things to be fixed at Solink. But to me, what was most important is who's trying and who's not. And then I'm not worried about system. But then when I felt that in the construct of something that was started 7 years before, there was a lot of hands on that honeypot, I didn't feel that they would look at after me for the level of value that I'm bringing here. After, I helped them close the largest 6-digit deal that they ever did. After 3 quarters, was no sale. Mike was very, very focused on certain things, and I didn't care for it. I just wanted to make something happen here. But I had that thing in my head of what I used to call advanced statistics that I wanted to apply at Solink.
Right.
Which actually now they end up doing because now AI is everywhere, right? And it's accessible.
Yes.
And so right away, I could see that they needed to focus on the core use case we had identified altogether, that they were a bit dissipated. And then I could see that the industry of CCTV needed more infrastructure work, which they did successfully. That's why they are where they are.
Yes.
And the analytics and the intelligence will be a second thing later for them. And me, I wanted to go there right away.
Yes.
And I looked back where I came from, which is caseware and auditing and financials. And I didn't see anyone doing anything with that idea of advanced statistics applied to financial data analysis.
Interesting. So that was the moment when were you already looking at the world through a lens of AI at that point?
We used
with the CTV, closed circuit camera technology. You're like,
Yeah.
what other industries
Yeah.
are missing out on that?
Exception-based reporting. So there's exception-based reporting is a technique where you find out with analytics an exception,
Yes.
and then you report on that, right? And it used to be done old school SQL queries.
Yes.
And my whole thing is to flip the process of that to right away have machine learning surface at the issues right away without having to wait a rule on SQL to be written.
Got it.
And so to me, when I saw in 2014 in Paris,
Yeah.
DeepMind present, what was happening with reinforced networks, deep learning, and a few techniques that were happening there, I was like, holy shit, that's the holy grail. And then 2014, and then people did not understand. For years, people argued, that's just machine learning, that's just, guys, it's neural networks. We're limited by computing capacity today. We're limited by knowing how far we can push it. But those models and those things are literally going to change the game. It was very hard in 2015. So I quit Solink, and then I started and then again, remember, I was at the time with someone that was not the most comfortable. I don't know, she was supportive, but she never had entrepreneurs in her family.
Yes.
She was an accountant in the government. It's a very different mindset than the risk-taking, growth-oriented entrepreneurs. And she was stressed as anyone. I mean, people say I'm downplaying the compatibility was not there for this type of career. And so there was a lot of hesitation. And to me, I was like, there was no hesitation. Like, I have to do this. No one is doing it.
Yeah.
But there was some constraints. Okay, well, let's try not to do it. So I tried to not start MindBridge, which was the business in AI, the first AI venture I did. I was involved in other things, but at MindBridge, basically, I tried everything I could do for 6 months to not start MindBridge. I gave the blueprint for free to the largest associations that I knew that were involved in that. I called my former employer. Remember, you were my neighbor at the time. I was like, I had many other things to worry about. And actually, you challenged me. And I don't remember that night where we were going back and forth. And you told me, son, what the fuck are you doing? You've launched businesses before. You just you're smoking like a
cigar. A cigar, for the record, it was a cigar.
Yeah, minus 22 guys talking for hours, throwing garbage and smoking.
And what did I tell you?
You told me, like, don't worry about everything. Just can you get 5 customers pre-signing something, and then we'll help from the rest of that at $300. Like, you can get everything. Once you get 5, I said, and I replied to him, was like, I can get 50. Like, in my head, I was like,
but you came back.
Yeah.
And the number was 3. I said 3 LOIs.
Yes. Yeah.
And you came back.
Oh, I was, and then you didn't just do that. You did one thing that nobody should ever do. You pissed me off. You actually said, well, Europe, I won't say the word, but like, say, what's going on with you? You're getting slow. Like, you're afraid. And like, it's not that hard. You've done it before. What are you afraid of? And I was like, that night, I had all the plans and things. I was trying to not do it, give it to people. That night, went home, put the kids to bed, sent something like 600 invites on LinkedIn, 100 people responded.
Yeah, you hustled.
It just triggered me.
It's great. I love that. I love that was your reaction though, right? Fear is such a powerful, can be both ways, right? Fear of failure can be really powerful, and fear of success can equally be powerful. I think what you like to prove yourself.
Oh, right? I like, just tell me it can't be done.
And you do it. And I knew that. And I did know that. And you could have not come back with 3 LOIs, but you came back with 3 LOIs. So then what did we do? What did we say at that point? What did you think? Well, we have a business, right?
No.
What are you going to do? You have 3 LOIs.
No business.
I needed a business partner.
No, not even. I was like, my first thought was, I need to test this smart. So I took 2 consulting gigs to pay the bills, the mortgage, all this stuff.
Yes.
And then I started reaching out to investors and clients at the same time.
Right.
And I started interviewing executives to run this thing with me. And I didn't know where it would land. And I remember people were so critical in this town of me. Like, they're like, he has nothing going on. He has no revenue. He has no employee. He has no customers. And I was literally interviewing for a full team of 15 people. And they don't understand that, like, if you wait for your venture, it takes time to hire. It takes time to find people.
Just got to do it, right?
If you start having early signs that there's a potential new technology or something to introduce, you can't do one thing serially after another. You have to do everything at the same time. You have to seek capital, seek people, and seek customers, because those are the 3 things that fuel a business, right?
So what are the 3 things? You said the 3 things.
Capital, customers, and then employees.
Yeah. 3 things. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
And you went ahead and got the customers.
Well, I went ahead and got all 3 at the same time. Like, I basically had people working part-time or evenings or weekends while I was searching as an investor.
You were actually at a job. There was some overlap. You were building. So let me ask you this. Now that you've done it, this is advice to the people listening on this. I like to use the analogy of a boat, right? You're in the middle of the ocean. It's stormy. You're in a nice, comfortable yacht, maybe. Do you jump over into the water and just have some logs and build the raft in the water, or do you build the raft first? What?
I don't believe in that. I believe you put a little plank of wood. You see, first of all, if the plank of wood is catching fire because it's an oil ocean full of fire,
throw it out in the water.
Drillers, if it floats, I would even go further than that. Before even building the raft, I'll throw in the water a piece of red meat to see if there's sharks.
There's going to be sharks. I guarantee you there's going to be sharks.
You know what I mean? But like it's like,
it's competition, right?
Yeah, or if it's a bloody water, why you even go in there, right? It's like, I like to even take time. I took a long time. Before I incorporated, I was 4 years writing down ideas, thinking deep, monitoring. wondering. And then the reason why I didn't move forward is because I was looking how the tech was at the time, and I didn't see how I could create that vision with the tech. So that's why it clicked like that when I saw DeepMind, because it was 3 years behind of thought processes. So,
this have been cooking in your brain.
Yeah, for a
you
long
connected
time.
all the dots. You got
Yeah.
the capital, the customers.
Yeah.
You did all three at this once. Then what happened?
Then basically what happens is that at some point you have to have a raft built enough that you can put your foot on it, test it, and try to stand on it. And so at some point I started having a bit of capital, some early signs of customers.
How much did you raise?
The very first one was 300,000 plus $1 million verbally committed. So, but there was 300,000 in the bank, and there was another $1 million verbally committed. And when I had the first $300,000, committed and in the bank, I basically stopped any consulting, and then I just.
So that was it. You're jumping ship. Now you're jumping in the water. Your raft's holding.
Yeah.
And you're solo at this point, or no?
Now I'm alone with 2 or 3 full-time people.
Right.
Funny, a Brazilian engineer. So it's funny, like. One of the best engineers at Solon was a Brazilian guy. First full stack engineer at MindBridge was a Brazilian guy. One of the best engineers we have right now at TechSpace, a Brazilian guy. It's very funny. So I basically went solo, and I had 2 to 3 people, soon 6 to 7 part-time and full-time. And I just was going at it. And then along the way, I didn't want to be the CEO. I knew my value. I wanted to go full throttle.
Yeah.
And I came from that industry. So if I had to be the indoor cat and outdoor cat, I would be delaying everything. I would not be. And so my train of thought was as follows. And also because the situation at home was not the best.
Yeah.
I needed to have a partner. I wanted to have several partners. I wanted to have many people capable of showing up when I was not there. And I wanted to be able to focus on customers because that's where I had a lot of connections.
So you knew enough to know you don't want to be the CEO.
Well, I had a test, and in Silicon Valley, I was very close from the CEO of NeoCase. I was before employee number 1.
Yes.
And I saw his life, and I was like, wow, if I'm going to do that, be the CEO of a scale-up or early-stage startup, guaranteed divorce. Like in my head, I was like, guaranteed. The divorce came anyway, 3 years after, for other reasons. Right? But I was fearing that it would really impede too much on my personal life, and I thought I could, buffer that. But it's a fallacy. Like there's no buffering when you do a MindBridge from 0 to 200 million enterprise value and going on. There's no way that you can contain, and especially when you're passionate about it, there's no way you can contain that. Like when you do something like that,
it's meant to be, and the energy of the universe and the market.
It pulls you in,
and the TAM is pushing you.
It pulls you. The universe decided this is going to happen, and you're just a conduit.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
And so you found a co-founder.
Several
co-founders.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about that, and then I want to talk about the path to exit.
Sure.
So
the first one that is probably the least talked about, and I wish I had more presence on the cap table, but she came too late, was Chrissy Bridge. She was a UX person. She was at Product Hunt, running Product Hunt with Gustavo Sanchez, which became head of demand gen at Shopify, and now is at Box. And then they were the Moonlight crew. They basically started doing the first designs, first time outreach, and things like that. And then we had 5 people. And then essentially I said, okay, I need someone that knows how to do startups, right? Like I started going out there, and then I ran into Aiden. Aiden became the first investor.
We're going to have him on the pod next.
Yeah, cool. And then the other thing, and then I ran it, and I had a guy, Eli, which was, I call it the Yoda of fresh founders, right? That he was the oldest guy around there. That everyone asked for advice, right? And he's always available for advice.
Super good for that.
And then one thing to another, I was like, hey, it's picking up. I have investors lining up. In my head, simple. There was a thing. The moment I have $1 million of investment or $1 million of customer, I didn't know which one will come first.
Sure.
I can't be the CEO. Then it's time to really assess our responsibility.
You have the self-conscious.
I was like, I cannot be the CEO. Then we need to really quickly grab customers. I need an operator.
You wanted to be in your lane. You knew that you were the best at sales. I agree. And you don't want to be in the helm. The CEO role is,
I couldn't, and you remember it's before COVID, right? So everything is in person. I cannot build a team in an office, which at the time was all in office.
Yeah.
And be on the forefront of the business. I can't be in the front office and the back office. So I needed an operator that could come there and really, and even be even better than me at building a business, right? So, and then Eddie gave good, out of all the people I asked advice for things, he gave most of the time best advice. And then I had 3 CEOs. It was not Eddie. I had 3 CEOs in mind. I had Peter Strom, Ever Plush, and another guy, Mike from Toronto, that I was talking to since day one. And I thought that one of those 3 would be interested to come early enough. But none of them could. One was at SAP, the other one was growing something else, and the other one was too hesitant. And then all of a sudden I came back from the Bay Area, and things are getting to pick up really. And basically, I thought Eddie was retired, and then I told him, look, you need to help me find a CEO. I said, well, let's meet for coffee at McDonald's. And
Good startup budget.
Yeah, and you know how startup budget it is? We arrive at McDonald's. Remember, this guy had an exit, right? Yeah. And he comes to me, and I knew there was something up when he basically ordered a coffee, then asked for hot water, and got the coffee.
Right.
But long story short, I said, look, Eddie, he's like, I know I'm looking for someone a bit like you, like this, but not as old. So I insulted him, and that triggered the same reaction than when you insulted me.
I'll show you.
Like, what do you mean?
I'll show you the all day. And he dives right back in his startup. You guys go on to build a MindBridge.
Well, then after there's another co-founder after that. It's basically we didn't have a technology leader that could build this. So there was Dan and then there was Robin that came in the picture. And those guys know how to run large scale building product, global security, blah, 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 former IBM, former entrepreneur too. And then there was Jim also who worked his ass off, who was like the glue between all of us. And if you look, there was like you can't say that MindBridge was just one person making it start. But this team, what I call the Ottawa champion, was not what made MindBridge the global success that it is. So there was 2 or 3 management teams that came after that really contributed to its success.
So, I mean, I watched the growth. Anybody who's interested in the growth can look up MindBridge and see there's a lot of growth there. There's a lot of, up and down, but you got
plateau and then up again. Yeah.
Right. And at what point, what point did you exit? At what point? What made you exit? Because we never really got into the details.
I haven't had it's not an exit where I'm completely off of the cap table, and then I'm completely. So there was the 2 exits. I always took secondaries. I have a principle.
You took a secondary, right?
I took several. What we do is high risk ventures. That asset class is one of the riskiest, almost like crypto. And Luke will tell you it's the worst asset class he had, which is investing in startups, maybe except MindBridge, he says. And then essentially, so to me, every time someone came to me to offer me a check, I'll take it. Yeah. That's my principle.
Okay.
So am I exited? No, I haven't had the complete exit and things like that. But there was the exit mentally.
You were allowed to individually sell your shares.
Yeah. Structured that.
There was no ride along kind of stuff. There was a ride along, but you were allowed to. Okay. Let's go to that because it's interesting. Some founders can learn from this, right?
They should.
A lot of people get lost up. So what's the tip?
There's several tips that I'll give on private calls with you on it. There's several tips, but it all comes down to the foundation of the shareholder agreement.
Having the proper shareholder agreement that allows for liquidity.
100%. You used to set the precedent.
Yeah.
So any investors that come after, you need to understand that's the rule of the game.
Okay.
Because I'm not CEO, you guys can kick me out at any time. So when there's liquidity, you cannot hold me to the same level of severity than a CEO.
So you're saying you'd have different liquidation price for the CEO versus the...
No, it's just that if there is someone that is willing to take me out a little, then someone else is to match me, or let me take it.
If they don't match it, then they take it?
Yeah.
And they got ride or no ride along? Can they get also the way you
they have
structure?
right of first refusal.
So it's okay. That's great.
Because it's for everyone.
Because it is a real problem. You get into we all know startups take 10, 15 years to build. And it can get tiring. So any mechanism, I'm a big fan of any mechanisms that allow for partial liquidity for founders. Just to give breathing. Yeah, it's just to give some...
But also it makes the founders more focused.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Okay, so that's really interesting insight. That's
you need to have a supportive board to do that as well.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? But okay, so that's interesting. And then you build it up. You didn't really exit. At what point did you say did you just start reducing your time, or did you do this slowly?
Yeah, so there's several things that happen. First of all, I don't wish anyone to go through a divorce.
Yeah. Happens a lot in startups.
Yeah, and I don't wish anyone to go through a divorce with your own company that you started. At some point, you arrive in the office, and to me, my definition of success with MindBridge. My definition of success with MindBridge was very specific. By the way, everyone should have an agreement with themselves to not get cocky, to not get distracted, to make a deal with your future self and your present self needs to make a deal. Success is when this and this and this is happening. So people trying to get greedy and forget where they were and lack humility in our industry. My definition of success was MindBridge. It's a globally recognized brand. I even told Eddie when he joined and others will be recognized by the World Economic Forum. We had nothing. And we ended up becoming recognized by the World Economic Forum.
Where did you grow it to? Where did we get? Last check. Where is MindBridge? Right?
Oh, I can disclose it. The last time they reported it publicly is over $30 million revenue. And then and basically, to me in my head is simple. I wanted 10% of that. I said, I know I'm in this business. It's starting to be a real business when it will be $3 to $5 million revenue annually. I want it to be a recognized brand. I wanted specific customers to validate that they use it every day and they like it. And then the last and important thing that made me exit mentally, even though I was still there working,
yes,
to be professionally managed. I wanted to be an asset that really fixed the world's financials. And to do that mission, it would take 20 years. And I didn't want to be 20 years there. So I needed to have a class of management team that run things very professional, better than any business I've been in before. And they've achieved that in less than 5 years. After Eddie, there was another CEO. And so that resilience, that organizational resilience to be very professional, very corporate, best in class in governance, best in class in professionalism, means you have suits. And suits and an entrepreneur doesn't always get along together.
Sure.
So the moment when you arrive in the office and people start being annoyed at you because I'm trying to start a new product, I'm trying to go a new market, I want to go to that country, I want to do, and then starting tension, like it's simple. You have to remember yourself, take that piece of email you write to yourself 5 years before, and you say, yeah. Okay, what am I doing here?
That's a good tip. So what you're saying is go in the time machine into the future and make a little note to yourself saying, when these things happen, I'm going to do X and Y. So it takes the emotion out of it and you're like a little reminder to yourself.
It's a commitment to yourself. And so what ended up happening, at the same time as those things happen, I went for divorce. At the same time those things happen, I started realizing there's many other ideas I have.
Yeah.
And basically I called the board member and I said, hey, I want to leave. And they freaked out. Like this guy freaked out. He was like, what are you talking about? And he basically sat me down and he went through the last 10 deals and 7 were leads that I brought into the business, right? So he says, what are you talking about? You want the shares to be worth something? And that was a problem. And then the head of sales that we hired that became the third CEO, like gave me shit to stop bringing so many leads. He says, so I need the team to pull their weight. So I call you at the end of the quarter if I'm short on deals and leads, but you need to slow down. I was like, what do you need to slow down? I'm already like holding back half of my time. I'm only working 8 to 5. I said, your 8 to 5, Solon, is not everyone else's 8 to 5. And you're frustrated by Wednesday morning that we didn't act on Monday.
Yeah.
And I have 110 people to manage.
You're still like in startup mode, in the sense of hustle mode, and the company was slow. So you were like, I'm out.
Well, I was like, I can't do this. We need to. So I had started discussion on how and when I can leave. And then literally when I got the yes that I could leave, it was like end of February 2020. And I'm in New York trying to do a few last year. And they're like, hey, you have to fly back to Canada. I was thinking to move to New York at the time.
Yeah.
I had another idea, the business with a co-founder there. And they called me back, say, the world is shutting down. You have to come back. And COVID started. And then like it was all hands on deck. Shit went down. I couldn't leave the team.
So you came back. You were at 1 foot out the door or almost out the door. You had to come back and kind of pitch in and help. And then, so how long did that go for?
2 3 years. And then on top of that, we had people trying to acquire.
So you would have left 2 or 3 years before that, but you're kind of like in it to win it. You decided to come back in.
Man,
grin and bear it? Was it sort of a grin and bear it type thing, or were you happy?
I was there. I was doing the work, but on Wednesday morning, I was done with the thing they were asking me to do, and I couldn't push because I couldn't push a whole management team and CEO to do only what I wanted to do with the business. So I was starting to help other startups, getting more involved in the community. I was bored out of my fucking brains. And basically out of that, I started the Accounting and Finance Tech Club on Clubhouse. #1 went to 25,000 subscribers, 300 listeners weekly. Then I started investing because I had some secondaries. I invested. I found Project Recapture, which became Pay Shepherd. I coached the CEO on a weekly basis, was on the board as an observer. We went from 100K to 3 million AR. Then I started helping iWin, which used to be called Endwin. It's funny, like, startups that keep rebranding, and those are the best exits. So frankly, like,
Interesting. Recognition.
and then I ended up working 2 to 3 days a week on iWin. They were starting less than 100K. I came with a customer for them and a check to invest. And then I started helping them hiring and going.
So this was a new form of you throwing the wood over the side of the boat and testing the waters to see what spaces are you're interested in, what gets you lit up. You're kind of playing VC a little bit.
Yes, I was. So that's when also I took over Fresh Founders
Yeah.
and basically created it as a capital called first fund, let's call it, of $2 million. We invested $2 million, which is worth $5 now, and this is when me helping the other founders. I don't call VC, I call it investor growth advisor. I don't like, if I put a check, I'm rolling up the sleeves and making the success happen with you, if you want me to, right?
Yeah.
And I always try to get out.
So an active investor, as active as you need to
just
be,
a friend,
right?
just a founder friend, Fresh Founder.
But that wasn't enough for you. You're playing with it, and what happened?
Yeah, so
Most people would just be like, I'm going to invest. I'm going to move to the jungle or in an island maybe for a bit, right? And I'll just be a semi-active investor, but not you. Wow, no. What did you do?
Well, I started helping one here and there, and then opportunities came by my desk, and then at some point, there's one that kept coming back as something interesting. And I don't know, I just like, as soon as I could get completely out of my rage, right? Not anymore 2 or 3 days a week, not anymore helping poking around. What happened is, when we did the deal with the minority sale to private equity, which is, we could do a whole podcast on that, but private equity is an incredible force for professionalization of startups, making startups corporate and really drive it well. And
With the systems and
beautiful systems and things. And their process, I learned so much from their process.
who was that? Who would put in the
Providence Equity Partners, PSG out of Boston. And then Rick and his team are just world class. I was not even part of the core team involved on all of that. The management team did all of the work almost. But seeing them go through the motion was such a masterclass on how acquisitions are being done and how to do due diligence and all of that, that I look at all of this and I learned from that. And I started doing that on another idea, a technology that was built inside of an accounting firm, in which the founding team, there was no employee. And they're like, do you think that has potential?
So this was an idea that came from
an accounting firm.
An accounting firm that came with the idea but didn't have the technology.
They did started building a prototype.
Oh, they already had a prototype.
They had a prototype, patch, and with
bubble gum and some tape.
good some tape, people doing manual things behind. It was more scripting.
The idea was there. Okay.
They had like a couple of dozens of users on it, and they were using it internally. And they told me, Solon, do you want to help? Can you help us commercialize if there's commercial potential? And I look at it, with an analyst and me, we called 100 CPA firms coast to coast. Everyone was drooling over that. I'm like, oh, there's no one else doing that? No. I'm like, oh, something there. So,
they already had customers?
No, not really. They had one customer, another accounting firm in town. And they said, Solon, can you help us? And I said, I don't know. I look at the valuation. It was more liability than assets in it, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of work to do. I said, look, here's the price I'll take for it. But if I help you, I need to own it.
Okay.
You can stay and play up to a certain level, but I need to drive it hard. We need to build a team. It's not easy. We need to commercialize it. We need to expand it. We need to put SOC 2 type 2, all this stuff, and we need to go at it. And so when, I don't know why, like something clicked in my head. Like I saw a problem. I know how to create solutions. And I basically went on 7 days a week, like 6 days a week. I basically stopped the investing others, ask everyone to get off of it as fast as possible.
I saw you. So how did it feel like being in that zone, being on fire again? Does it make you happy?
I love it. I'm in my zone. I'm like fish in the water. It doesn't feel like work. Look, you see that I'm like, I lost the weight again. I'm light up.
You look like Zeus.
I just more. I just like, I'm just.
Where do you get that energy from?
Man, I don't know. Like I'll tell you one thing. Like, okay, so if you have never felt hunger and see your mom skipping meals at the end of the month, you don't know what is a hard day.
Yeah.
If you haven't lost your best friend shot by a gang leader in school, you haven't seen what is a bad day. If you haven't seen people killing each other and teenagers because there's not enough food in the neighborhood where you live, you don't know what it is to not have economic opportunity. I know how to fix that. I know how to create jobs. I know how to give opportunity. That's it.
I love that. You're driven by purpose. And I'll tell you something else. Out of everyone we've ever had on this podcast or that I've ever met, tell me if you agree with this or not, went through hard times, had some sort of friction And that pain, from that pain comes purpose and comes real passion, right? Very, very few people I've seen succeed come from a place of privilege.
Yeah.
So I think the superpower is that, you didn't come from here. You came here, you're willing to put in the work to learn speaking English, which are still a work in progress. But that passion, that energy I just saw now is the reason that I think you have that superpower. I've never seen anything like it. Your ability to close sales and make things happen out of nothing is insane. And I think it comes from that, right? It comes from that pain. So that's what I love. I love to see that energy transferred to something positive. And so a lot of people exit, they get lost, they lose a sense of purpose, and they try to do other stuff. But this is in you, right?
Yeah,
So
I actually get triggered when I see that, because if you are a man of power and influence and network,
you're wasting it, right?
It's almost like a civic duty. Except if you want to, you went through a hardship, you went through a physical condition, or you just had, if you are an able man and woman, and you live in 2024, and with a lift of a finger, you can create opportunity for people that might not have it. It's like a civic duty. To me, if you are someone that has gone through one time creating one job, and you know the process and how hard it is to create something out of nothing, you should at least try to help others, which is what I did for a while, if you're not still with energy and time. And to me, I have access to network, to capital, to talent. It's like I cannot not be creating things with it. I will not look at myself say I'm doing my share in society. I don't mind paying taxes. In fact, my venture is about collecting taxes faster.
Sure.
TaxPay and Remitian are all about that, to pay the tax on time. You should all pay your tax on time. It helps the government and you don't get penalized, right? But that's, by the way, if you want to, 5 free licenses, contact me. But
we'll put that on the stand.
But it's like, it's so hard. Like when you come to places where you have poor construct, not even poor places, but places with the poor mental construct. Some countries are stupid with that. And you're in North America, and there's nothing that is preventing you from creating. You should do it. Like
you have a civic responsibility
to me,
to use your powers.
Builders have to build, because none of us know how to do it. And if you hesitant, you told it. Now there was YouTube. Man, when we started Fresh Founders, there was no so much education online. There's no reason for someone not to try to start a business. Most people, I would say, should at least go through the process themselves, even if they end up being corporate folks, to understand how business run.
Yeah.
That's the new business school.
That's great. I think, and then with TaxPay, speaking of TaxPay, so you could have just retired, you could have just taken off, but you built TaxPay, you're building it again. What's your plan with TaxPay? What's the vision for TaxPay?
So to me, TaxPay is very simple. Like I didn't know the whole capital gain, raise of tax question was going to happen when I got involved. I just know one thing is that I've heard horror stories, and I've experienced one myself, where the funds are misplaced by the tax collection agencies, and you spend months going after it.
Yeah.
I've heard of accountants committing suicide, being stressed beyond any means. Tax season for them is like training for the Olympics. These accountants that do meal prep before, because they have no time. It's insane. And at the end of all that work, the last mile of the service delivery is that people just have to take their freaking instructions and pay on time at the right account. And people see many mistakes.
Not first broke, it's a bottleneck.
Yeah, before COVID, people would drop by the office, drop checks, whatever. When COVID happened, everything went digital. States and federal tax put, portals are not good. So there's so much friction there. I'm like, this is stupid, man. I went through it a few times. Like, I hate paying taxes already. Please don't make it much. It's like, you have to go to the dentist every year and you don't have painkillers. How does that feel?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
So you're using AI and your knowledge of flow and developing streamlined systems to just use AI to make tax paying actually, well, let's not say fun, but easy. And automating
we move the pain out of it. But just at least create that experience. We're not a technology company. I said we're an experience company.
Right.
When you go to the dentist and you're a kid and you're afraid, the dentist is going to smile to you, give you a little candy toy, whatever, sedate you with a needle there so you don't feel the pain. And you're not having the best time of your life, but at least the experience is a bit better.
Bearable, right?
Yeah.
So you're making tax bearable. We're adding technology to enable to make accountants' lives easier, but in turn, the end users, right?
That's great.
And in the end, the government gets
and
money.
Right now, look, we spent like drunken sailor during COVID with relief programs in the Western world. The coffers, blame whatever politician you want. It's not very fair to them sometimes. The coffers are empty. They have to refill the coffers. They have to collect more. And then if we help them collect faster, it maybe will ease them on not collecting too much. If you can't find them, join them. Look, I've been very vocal on that on LinkedIn.
At least you're being on.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's good. I think it's a noble civic duty to paying taxes are civic duty, and if you can make that easier for people, it's an amazing vision. I want to get some gold from you. You've given a lot of gold, by the way, so far, but I think you have so much wisdom and advice, especially for founders. So let me just ask you a couple lightning round questions. So do you build companies to sell them?
No.
Don't build it to sell.
No.
Okay.
You think about selling them, you think about creating optionality and exit path, but I don't build to sell. I'm built to build a great business.
Great. Will you ever retire?
No.
You don't see it.
The doctor will have to tell me that I have to retire. I'm too old. My team has to be, I'm senile or some shit like that. Yeah.
And I know these are all cliche questions, but I have to ask, what's like the best advice you've ever gotten?
What's your definition of success?
That's the best advice that you've gotten?
To make me think about, the best advice I got is like, what are you waking up for in the morning? Like, what's your definition of success? Like, I was sit down and I was like, yes, I'm like, I don't think I was a wrecking ball of energy in my 20s. And my manager says like, so I don't think you thought through what is your personal definition of success.
What is your personal definition of success?
Hands clean, head up high. No dirty business, proud of what you've accomplished. In any situation. Personal at home, with kids, with, business. Just there's no price for a good conscious, like when you go to bed and you've done the right things. Yeah, sure, I'm stubborn, I make mistakes. Like, for example, people tell me, so you should have not done the fund inside freshman and they were right, and then now I have to strip it out. And I get stubborn, I get obsessive, everything. But at the end of the day, I acted the best I could in my good consciousness. And basically be with pride. So what you've accomplished was worthwhile. Like you lived a worthwhile life, right? And that's the thing. And to do that, the two guiding the North Pole and South Pole is make the 8 version of yourself, and people say that all the time, the 8 years old version of yourself proud, and the 80 years old version of yourself not regretful, right? So that's the North and South Pole, right? And along the way, on that journey, hands clean, head up high. That's it. Whether you're in a favela in Brazil, you'll be respected by that. Okay, I've seen guys that are scoundrels, like they're dealing drugs, they're killing people, whatever. But because when you do a deal and you shake their head, he's not going to kill you. They're respected. You know what I mean? And they leave yourself saying, "Hey, I'm a killer, and I told you I'll kill you." Right? Like,
but what do they expect?
What
At
do
least
you expect?
it's the truth.
But it's dirty business. But they have integrity in the wrong ways, right? But to me, I'm not a killer, I'm not a thief and everything. To me, having hands clean and be proud of what I do at all time, right? And having hands clean at all time. Then nobody can tell me you took $1 from me. That was not fair. You treated me unfairly. Like, to me, those are very important things.
I love that.
And that comes from my dad. He basically, he says he had shit jobs sometimes, and he came home, he says, so the police would never knock on my door saying I did something wrong, and nobody says I was an asshole towards them.
It's awesome. Solon, it was an absolute honor to have you on this show. I'm proud to call you a friend, and I think the best is even ahead of us, especially for you. You're an absolute legend, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.